Hello, it is I are Smart, and check out this Star Wars shirt. It's pretty cool, alright? So, like, you have, like, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, then Revenge of the Sith, then A New Hope, then Empire Strikes Back again, then Force Awakens, and then Force Awakens again. Don't really know why they did it like that, but it's a cool shirt. I really like this one. I've had it for a while, but it's just great because it's like an individual scene from almost every Star Wars movie, and that got me thinking, what's the best scene in every Star Wars movie? So, in my professional opinion, I've gone through every Star Wars movie and picked out what I believe to be the best scene in every movie. Now, this was difficult. Some of these movies have so many good scenes, I simply had a very difficult time picking just one. And some of these, I honestly was like, I don't know what the best scene is because none of them are that good. So, that's just how Star Wars is. But in this video, I'll be picking out my personal favorites. The things that I'm just like, ooh, that's a good scene. This is like my favorite scene in this whole movie. So we're going to be going through all the Star Wars movies that have been, theatrically released. We're not going to go through, like, the holiday special, the Ewok movies, any of that stuff. We're not going to talk about those. But that's what we're going to be doing today. So we're going to go in release order because I personally believe that's the best order to go through Star Wars movies, which means we're starting with A New Hope, Star Wars 1977, if you want to call it that, which is my personal favorite. Like, I know everyone's like, oh, Empire's the best, but I love A New Hope so much. It's like my favorite movie ever. I know I've said The Iron Giant is my favorite movie ever, but that's just my favorite movie ever that isn't a Star Wars movie, because A New Hope was my favorite movie ever. Like, it's so good. Just Star Wars. I like to just call it Star Wars, right? Like, that's just what it was. When it was released in 1977, it was called Star Wars. So, there are a lot of different versions. I've talked about this in the past, so there's, like, specials and changes. But, like, I just like it, okay? So, what is the best scene? This is difficult for me, but I think I have to go with the trench run. Specifically the trench run. Like, the Battle of Yavin above the Death Star is a really long sequence, but specifically when they're just in the trench, and, like, right when Luke is flying his X-Wing, and he's getting very close to blowing up the Death Star, and Vader's right behind him. He's already taken out pretty much all the other X-Wing fighters. He's already taken out R2. Vader's literally locked on to Luke. It's so tense. I've watched this movie, like, dozens of times. I've watched it a lot. Like, that's probably not exaggerating. I'd say it's probably, like, close to 12 times, which is a lot of times to watch a movie. So, like, I've watched it a lot, but every single time it's like, ooh, this is tense. This is exciting. It's never not, which is just amazing. And, then, like, the Millennium Falcon swoops in, and then that one TIE fighter is like, look out, and, like, swings his TIE fighter to save Darth Vader, which I think is canon. I don't know if it is for sure, but I think it's canon that one TIE fighter, like, saved Darth Vader single-handedly by, running into him. I think it's canon. I don't know if it is for sure. It might have just been an accident, but I don't know. So anyway, then the whole Death Star blows up, and then I'm sad because, all my friends died. But it's still a really cool sequence in that movie. A close second for best scene in New Hope, I almost went with Binary Sunset because just the way that Luke, it's such a nice shot of Luke just looking off in the sun. It says so much without saying anything at all. And then you have the music, the John Williams score. The Star Wars would not be the same without John Williams. It's amazing. I can't even describe it. It gives me chills every time, just even thinking about it. Like da na na da da na da. It's beautiful, so beautiful. Anyway, we're moving on. Okay, so Empire Strikes Back. Again, this one was difficult for me to decide because everyone says this one's the best. There's so many good scenes, I can't even get into all of them. So, like, I could say, Luke versus Vader, the part where Vader says, I am your father. That's pretty good. Or the Battle of Hoth, my personal favorite battle in all of Star Wars because it's just amazing. But I think I had to go with a very particular scene. And that is the moment when Yoda raises the X-Wing out of the water. Because it's just magical. It just is Star Wars in a way I can't even describe. The way the music swells in this scene, again, it gives me chills every time I even think about it. It's just like da na 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 ba ba da da da. It's so good. I love that part. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. That's the only way I can describe it. It's just such a good scene. Because you see how Luke tried before and was just like, nah, can't do it. But Yoda's just like, nah, it's not how the Force works, man. Just do it. And then whoosh, he lifts it out and it's just like, whoa, that's the Force. That's so cool. So again, just a magical scene. I can't even describe how amazing that scene is. Every time it just gets me, I was like, wow. Wow, and again, it's just another music scene. John Williams' music will always just swoon me over, because it's so good. That's Empire. John Williams is amazing. Okay, now we're on to Return of the Jedi, and the scene that actually inspired this video, because I was thinking about how good this scene is. Now, my thing with The Last Jedi, I mean Return of the Jedi. Did I say Last Jedi? I meant Return of the Jedi. We're on Return of the Jedi now. The thing with this movie is that I don't like most of it. the first 2/3 of this movie I really don't like. Like, Tatooine, Jabba's palace is really boring, I don't like it. Endor is kind of interesting sometimes, but it's when we get to the end, and the battle over Endor, and, you know, Luke and Vader and the Death Star with Palpatine. That's peak Star Wars stuff right here. And I think the best moment in this entire movie, and arguably in the all original trilogy, I love this scene so much, is specifically when Luke, you know, he's like finally like defeating Darth Vader, and it seems like it's going to be a heroic moment. Then we see him chop Vader's hand off, and we see that Vader's hand is mechanical. And then Luke kind of realizes what he's doing. He realizes he's turning to the dark side. He looks at his own hand, which was chopped off and is now robotic, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm becoming my father." And nothing is said in this scene. Again, it's crazy. The audience can just the audience doesn't need to be told this. We can figure out, like, oh my gosh, Luke is becoming his father. And then he throws his lightsaber away, alright? He's like, nah, I'm not going to join you, Palpatine. I'm a Jedi, like my father before me. Amazing scene. Such a good scene. It's incredible. I love it so much. It's just... and then I could say, like, Vader's redemption, or the moment Vader takes his helmet off and we see Anakin for the last time. It's just... those are really cool too, but I think specifically the moment where Luke says he's a Jedi, and like that's just such a powerful moment, because we see like he was so close, he almost turned to the dark side, but no, he didn't follow the same path as his father, and that redeemed Vader. It's just, it's beautiful. I love that scene so much. It's just, you know, makes the whole watching Return of the Jedi worth it, because I really don't like most of Return of the Jedi. I just trudge through it and it's like, Jabba's palace, Ewoks. Yay, but then it's like, ooh, we're on the Death Star now. Okay, finally, we're to the good part. So, I really like that. Okay, so now we're on to the prequels, which means that first up we have The Phantom Menace. Now, I don't really like The Phantom Menace, but Duel of the Fates is really good, honestly. It's just good. It's a good battle, and it's fun. It's just good. It's entertaining. It's probably like, it was the first time where we were like, oh, lightsaber battles look really good. Because up until then, you know, we had Obi-Wan versus Vader, which is pretty boring, honestly. Then we had Luke versus Vader in Empire, which is actually pretty good. We got, like, way better. And then we had, you know, Vader versus Luke in Return of the Jedi, and it was like, okay, that's cool too. But then we get Phantom Menace, and we're like, whoa, lightsaber battles can be so much cooler. So that's why I really like Duel of the Fates. It's just cool. And also, you know, Duel of the Fates, like the music where it's like, da-da, da-da-da. The whole thing is just beautiful. John Williams, again, just literal genius when it comes to writing that. It's just perfect. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of Phantom Menace. I guess pod racing is kind of cool, but I'm just not a big fan of that movie. Okay, so Attack of the Clones. My favorite scene is the end credits, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. I think this might be my least favorite Star Wars movie, besides, you know, Rise of Skywalker. It's kind of like, I don't know. Like, Rise of Skywalker is obviously just really bad, but this was just boring. Like, Geonosis is cool. I think that probably is my favorite scene, the Geonosis arena, because that's cool. We get to see the Jedi in their prime. But again, it's like, oh, look at that, they're chopping up droids. Droids have never been threatening or, like, interesting at all to me. So, like, I don't really get it. Like, they're cool, I guess. But, I mean, even, like, the Battle of Geonosis, it's just like, ooh, big whole CGI clone army versus big CGI droid army. Which, I mean, it still looks good, don't get me wrong, but it's just kind of uninteresting to me. I don't know. That's just my personal take. If you like it, that's great. I think it's a still really impressive sequence to watch, but I've just never been a big fan of Attack of the Clones. So I'd say the best scene is probably that, or it's probably the scene where, like, you know, the wedding between Anakin and Padme, because they play Across the Stars, which is another really good song that I really like. So I think it'd have to be either one of those, either like the Geonosis arena battle, or, you know, the wedding between Anakin and Padme, because it's just nice. Or just any time they play Across the Stars, because that's probably my favorite song, and probably like the main reason I watch Attack of the Clones, just so I can hear it. So, Revenge of the Sith, the one that everybody seems to love these days. And I'm gonna be honest, it's a great movie. It's just so fun to watch. And even though it isn't that great of a movie, I don't think, like, it's still kind of crazy and ridiculous prequel stuff, but it's just so fun. It's just a fun movie. So, picking my favorite scene was difficult. I think I'm gonna have to go with Anakin versus Obi-Wan, though, because, I mean, it's just so good, man. I also really like Palpatine versus Yoda, but the great thing is, it keeps cutting back and forth between Anakin and Obi-Wan and Palpatine versus Yoda, so that back and forth is just really fun. I get to watch both at the same time, basically. So, that's probably it. I also went with Order 66, because Order 66, like, when it came out in 2005, when this movie came out, was just kind of like, oh, all these Jedi are dying, that's so sad. But we didn't know any of them. But then in the Clone Wars and other media, where, like, we got way more attached to these characters. So now, Order 66 is way more sad. So it's become a really good scene over the years. But specifically with the best scene in just looking at Episode 3 as it is, I would say it's probably Anakin vs. Obi-Wan, because it just is amazing. It goes on for so long. It's literally just like, yeah, let's give you the coolest lightsaber battle ever. Okay, but also it's going to be super emotional, because it's Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting, so amazing. It's just so good. Okay, so you might think we're going on to Force Awakens, but the next theatrical release movie was the Clone Wars movie. Yeah, remember that? That was released in theaters. Before they made the Clone Wars series, they made a movie. Yeah, we're just going to move on anyway. So on to The Force Awakens, and the best scene in Force Awakens is any scene with Rey. I'm kidding, guys. For real though, I don't know. Force Awakens, I think it's good. I think it gets too much hate. It's just kind of a okay movie. There's nothing glaringly obviously wrong with it, like, you know, the next two movies in the sequel trilogy, but, you know, it's also not as good as, you know, some of the really good parts of Episode 8, so it's just kind of meh. But, I don't know. I think the best scene is either, like, when Han Solo dies, because it was just such a shock. It was just like, what? They killed off Han? Wow, I didn't think they'd really do that. That's crazy. And then, also, I think my personal favorite, though, is probably the Rey versus Kylo fight, because it just looks good. It was just kind of like, we haven't seen a lightsaber battle since the prequels, but it looked really good, because they did it was like a nighttime fight, and you can really see how bright the lightsabers are, which is really cool. And you have the snow going all around, and everyone's like, oh, it's stupid because Rey's overpowered in this fight. Guys, Kylo was literally, like, shot with a bowcaster. He's literally, like, you know, dying, and he's still, so the fact that he's able to fight at all is impressive. And also, Rey knows how to fight. She knows how to fight with the staff. It's pretty much the same as the lightsaber. It's a bit different, but it's kind of similar. I could get into that, but I just like the fight. I think it's a pretty good fight. You know, it's decent, and it's probably one of the highlights of the movie. So that's why I'm going to go with that. Okay, so Rogue One. Yes, because Rogue One came after Force Awakens. We're going in release order. We're not going in a movie timeline order. We're going in release order. So Rogue One, this should be pretty obvious. It's the Vader hallway scene, because this scene was just so out of left field. It was just like, holy crap. That's Darth Vader. Holy crap, he's killing a bunch of rebels in a hallway. Holy crap, this is one of the coolest scenes in any movie ever. It's just so cool. Because, like, Vader being in the movie at all was a surprise. He wasn't even planned to be in the movie. He was just, so it was kind of thinking like, oh, Vader's here in the middle of the movie talking to Director Krennic. That's cool. Wow. But then at the end of the movie, it's literally just the most, like, fan servicey thing ever. But it's so good. It's done so well. And it just makes sense. Because, like, in the original trilogy, we never really get to see Vader being evil or, like, you know, super cool villainy stuff. This is literally just him killing a bunch of dudes in a hallway. And it's cool. It's so cool. So yeah, that's definitely the best scene in Rogue One. So, The Last Jedi, yeah, Episode 8. This is the most divisive movie, I'd say, because I think most people are in agreement that Episode 9 sucks. But the thing is, Episode 8 is you have a lot of people say it's literally the worst Star Wars, and a lot of people say it's literally the best Star Wars. I fall somewhere kind of in the middle, but more on the side of it's good, because I think the great parts about this movie are really great, but the bad parts about this movie are really bad. But overall, I still like it, and I would say it's a good movie. So, the thing with Episode 8, there's a lot of great scenes. Like, I really like the scene where Luke and Rey talk about the philosophy of the Jedi, and, like, you know, hey, the Palpatine were able to, the Jedi allowed Palpatine to rise to power, so we have to end them. And Rey's like, no, the Jedi can still do a lot of good. And it's really interesting. It's interesting to see that character dynamic, and also that they're training a little bit. They have some cool sequences. You know, the Kylo Ren shirtless scene, that's pretty funny. I think I did it better, though. Go watch my video. Anyway, the best scene, I would say, is probably Luke versus Kylo. Because when I first watched this movie in the theater, I was, like, really confused as to what's going on. But then it all made sense. It's like, oh, he's a Force projection. Okay. That's kind of weird, and I don't know how I feel about that. But sure. And I've just come to more and more appreciate it, because it's cool. I mean, it makes sense. It doesn't make sense for Luke to just appear there and start fighting him. It makes more sense for him to, you know, be a distraction so that the Resistance can get away. And, you know, then there's, like, it kind of, like, you know, hints at it by having, you know, Kylo's foot move, and there's, like, and it moves the salt. Then Luke's foot moves, and it doesn't move the salt. And, you know, they just keep dodging. And then, you know, it's just a cool moment to see them. And they already have an interesting dynamic where Luke trained Kylo and thinks he failed him. And then Kylo hates Luke. And then, I don't know, it's just cool. And then Luke dies, and it's really sad. It's really emotional, because there's, like, two sons in Octo, and it's like, oh my gosh. It's like the scene in A New Hope that I mentioned I loved. So, I don't know, it's really grown on me. I really like Luke in The Last Jedi. A lot of people hate him. I think I should make a video on why I really think Luke is a good character in Last Jedi, because everyone's like, oh, it doesn't make any sense. But I think his character makes a lot of sense. So, anyway, enough talking about Last Jedi. It's time to move on. So, Solo: A Star Wars Story. Yeah, I bet you probably forgot this movie existed. I don't know what it was. Everyone, like, this just came out after Episode 8, and everyone was just so mad, they kind of forgot that this movie happened. But I would say my favorite scene is probably the Kessel Run. Because it was literally just like a throwaway line in New Hope, like, oh, this is a ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. And it's like, cool. What does that mean? And this movie was like, alright, here's the Kessel Run. And it was pretty cool. And it just was cool. I think my main problem with Solo was just the fact that all of this stuff that makes Han Solo happened in like a weekend. Like, he met Chewbacca, got his blaster, got his jacket, met Lando, got the Millennium Falcon, became a smuggler. All this stuff just happened within the span of like a couple days, which is pretty weird. But it's still a cool movie, and I like it. And, you know, also the train heist. That's probably a close second, but I think the best scene is probably the Kessel Run. So, overall, Solo, it's pretty good. I think it's definitely worth a rewatch if you haven't seen it in a while. Okay, so last on the list, and probably the least, honestly, is The Rise of Skywalker, because it sucks. But whatever. You know, I think probably the best scene in this movie, just by default, is Sith Eternal Palpatine. Just Palpatine in general. Anything having to do with him. Because seeing Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine again, it was amazing. Even though I still think it made no sense, him coming back, they could have explained it better. Like, I definitely think they could have made Palpatine coming back good. But they just didn't, because they were in such a crunch time with this movie. They had to pump it out in, like, way less time than what they needed. But I could get into that later. But it's just, I don't know. I really liked having Palpatine back. It was cool. Did it make any sense? No. But it's Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine again. I would say a close second is the very end, because I think it's just nice, where Rey Skywalker. I think I need to explain this scene to people again, too, because some people are like, this scene is so stupid, she's literally stealing the Skywalker name. That's not what it means. She's choosing her own destiny, people. How do you not get this? That's her whole point. That's Rey's character arc. She chooses her own destiny. That's the message to take away. Choose your own destiny. Do what you want to do in life. Don't be defined by who you are. Choose your own destiny. That's the point of why she says Rey Skywalker. Do you guys not get it? Why does no one get this scene? It's such a good scene, but nobody gets it. I don't know. But still, my favorite scene is definitely, you know, the parts where Palpatine is like,
do not fear their feeble attack, my faithful. Nothing will stop the return of the Sith.
And then like big strop as his like lightning hands off. It's so silly and ridiculous. I love it. Like, honestly, this movie is fun if you watch it with the idea like, wow, this is a really bad movie, but it's good. Like, Rise of Skywalker is so incredibly bad, it kind of falls in that territory where some of the scenes are just so stupid that they're enjoyable. So, yeah. Anyway, this is it. This is the end of the video. Let me know what you thought about my ranking, and, you know, feel free to agree or disagree with me in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I did a community post the other day where I was like, hey, what's your favorite scene in Star Wars? And there were a lot of cool responses. So, you know, on this video, let me know, like, hey, you forgot this scene in this movie, and I'll be like, ooh, yeah, that is a good scene. So, anyway, that's it. Hope you enjoyed. I haven't made a Star Wars video in a while. The last couple uploads haven't been Star Wars related, and I'm sorry about that. I will try to focus more on Star Wars related content, because that's what I'm all about here. Like, airships are cool, don't get me wrong, but I should definitely focus on making Star Wars videos in the future. So, alright, that's it. See ya.